Yeah.
Hello, good evening. I am Ritu Shivani from Morarji Desai Institute of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences, Vadodara, Gujarat. I am a fourth year student. I am here on the behalf of OYG team for yet another session of OYG. We have here with us one among the frontline workers, Dr. Kashi Vishwanath, an intern from Government Wenlock Hospital, Manipal University, Mangalore. It's a pleasure to have you, sir. And he is going to talk with us about mucormycosis, the present problem going on and very in demand situation whereby interns, doctors, and even patients are suffering a lot. And the work of doctors and interns to control this situation is commendable. So let's hear from Sir Dr. Kashi Vishwanath, sir himself. What is the situation presently? What is mucormycosis? How is it spreading so rapidly?
So
Sir, over
basically,
to you.
it's yeah. So thank you so much for the introduction. So basically, mucormycosis is nothing new. It was always there in our environment, in the surroundings. It's a fungi which belongs to the mold family. Okay. So if you remember, we studied in our seventh grade, sixth grade about the bread molds. Okay. So which often grow when a medium is provided, especially sugary rich or carbohydrate rich medium is provided, which often multiply and it can cause the food to spoil. So it's a mold family fungus, first thing. And second thing is it's nothing new. It was always there here. But the thing is, if you are aware of HIV, RVD, retroviral disease positive patients, in which we can see candidiasis, oral candidiasis is one of the peculiar features we can see. But it doesn't mean that candida has arisen new, right? It is always there. It's just that our body immune system is down right now because of current COVID situations in the patient. So their body immune system is down. So because of which there is no defense mechanism. So all these what we call the fungi which shouldn't be causing any damage are causing now because our immune system is low. It's not that they have increased in their power. So this mucormycosis, or in general public terms, the black fungi, and now we came across a lot many of them. Like not only black fungi, now we can see latest in Jaipur there is a registered cream colored fungi case. So basically, these are all always there. It's just that our body is immune depleted right now. So can you please start presenting slides so that I can start my presentation? Okay, so next slide, please. So basically, it's a very serious but rare fungal infection, as I told you earlier, but it did not occur before because we are not immune depleted. But right now, the COVID scenario is it damages our whole immune system. It takes a toll on it, because of which we can't even defend such fungi. So next slide, please. So what are the predisposing factors? So predisposition means the people who are at great risk of developing such infections. So first thing is uncontrolled diabetes mellitus. If the sugar levels of our blood are kept unchecked, obviously there is a high predisposition for such people to get mucormycosis. And second thing is immunosuppression by steroids. Here I need to add a point that recently I have a friend who actually told that his some so or so cousin is studying in some medical school, who actually prescribed him for a mild COVID infection with 4 milligrams of prednisolone, oral prednisolone steroid, which is injudicious and which is unnecessary at that point of time. It's mild COVID, and our immune system can manage it on our own. If given 6 to 7 days, it will take care of it. But if you start using steroids should be always a last day of the treatment. It shouldn't be given an initial comorbidities such as malignancies, transplant, and voriconazole therapy. So next slide, please. So when do you suspect in a COVID-19 patient that he or she is developing mucormycosis, or in any immunosuppressive patient? So first thing is sinusitis. The classic symptom of sinusitis is nasal blockade or congestion is there, or nasal discharge, which could be blackish or brownish because of the blood. And there could be local tenderness on the cheekbone or on the sinuses places, the places where sinuses are there. It could be frontal, ethmoidal, or maxillary sinuses, which could be involved. And there could be one-sided facial pain, numbness, or swelling because, again, of the sinusitis. And there could be blackish discoloration over the bridge of the nose or the palate. And there could be toothache, all the oral symptoms, toothache, loosening of teeth, or jaw involvement could be there. And there could be blurred vision because of extreme pain. And there could be fever and skin lesion, thrombosis and necrosis. So thrombosis is nothing but a formation of clot. So this whole COVID scenario is a prothrombotic state, okay? So prothrombotic state means it makes our blood to coagulate. That's why in the regimen, it's included the heparin, which is low molecular weight heparin. It is used to reduce these incidents of thrombosis so that the vital organs doesn't get damaged. And there could be chest pain, pleural effusion, hemoptysis, and there could be worsening of respiratory systems also. Next slide, please. And so what all can be done to prevent or to reduce the risk of incidence of mucormycosis? First thing is to control the hyperglycemia if you are a diabetic individual. So you have to put your sugar levels at check, the regular adequate medication, and stopping consumption of hyperglycemic foods, which with high glycemic index. And use of steroid judiciously. In the previous slide also, I have mentioned about my friend who actually took 4 days of steroid course because some cousin of his has suggested him to take so. So do not do that mistake. Always approach doctor. Don't take relative suggestions for this until and unless they are designated medical practitioner. And use the antibiotics or antifungals judiciously. And again, in WhatsApp, these days we see there are a lot many prescriptions moving around. Like, for example, in order to stop getting COVID, in order to reduce the risk of getting COVID, this is how exactly was put on WhatsApp, that you are supposed to take Dolo SOS and take vitamin C, zinc, and take azithromycin, take ivermectin, whatnot, and even steroid therapy also. If you're taking that even before contracting the disease, when you are actually in the need of it, they won't really work, because by the time it's too late, that our body gets developed a resistance against them. So, and coming to don'ts, for example, symptoms like sinusitis, which I have already discussed, and respiratory depression or any respiratory symptoms, you should never hesitate to go to a doctor. You should always go to a doctor and see him or her for your particular symptoms, especially this whole pandemic time. If a person comes with nasal discharge, headache, diarrhea, and any kind of respiratory symptoms, mostly, so right now I'm working in flu casualty. So flu casualty is the first phase of a hospital. So that's the place where people come with all these respiratory illness and ailments. There we do first rapid antigen test in order to detect the status of the person immediately. If the rapid antigen test comes negative, so we go for RT-PCR, which is a gold standard as of now. It's a gold standard diagnostic measure in order to proceed with COVID confirmation. Next slide. And then coming to medical treatment, this is actually of not much use to general public. So I just put it for the sake of doctors who would be watching this. So as of now, this is the current modality which people are using, use of amphotericin B infusion and a lot of fluids through the central catheter. And then the mainstay of surgical therapy is radical removal of that particular organ which is involved. Okay, next slide. So how do you manage it? And so if you can reduce the chances of predisposition, then you're almost near to the, so if you reduce the risk of predisposition, that means you're reducing the incidence of that particular disease to affect you. So this management is, once the disease comes to you, what to do, like how do you reduce the severity of it, and control the diabetes and diabetic ketoacidosis first thing, and reduce the steroids and unjudicious use of them, and then discontinue on immunomodulator drugs, which actually modify our immunity. So, and then extensive surgical debridement, as I already mentioned before, to remove all the necrotic debris. Next slide. So preventive measures, maintaining personal hygiene, COVID protocol, COVID appropriate behavior, basically using masks. And recently it's found out that if the same oxygen concentrator or oxygen mask is used for more than 10 days straight without cleaning it, there are more chance of developing of fungal infections also. So be aware of that. And wearing shoes, gloves, and everything while touching any object. So please keep yourself covered. Please keep yourself hydrated and with adequate hygiene and COVID appropriate behavior. That's all is needed right now. Next slide. So this is a COVID home monitoring sheet I have made for people who might be affected and who are in home isolation method. If home isolation protocol, if anyone approaches you, can just give a copy of it and tell them to take a printout and note down or monitor their vitals every day for till the day of isolation ends. Next slide. So stay home, stay safe, guys. It's not that great outside to roam around. As a intern, I'm actually seeing lot many deaths. Not, it's not to like make you get scared or something. Yes, but the situation which is outside is not that really great, even though there is slight reduction in the amount of case load. But yeah, still, please try to stay home, stay at home, and just maintain COVID appropriate behavior. I can't really emphasize much about it, because the only proven strategy still there is to follow COVID appropriate measures and to get vaccinated and to lead a healthy lifestyle. These are the only three things which can save you from COVID at this point of time. Maybe till the permanent cure comes. And we don't know when it will come. Okay, that's it about mucormycosis.
Sir, you were saying about the diabetic control and management. So what should be the ideal range in which we should manage the sugar or glucose level so that we can prevent this from occurring in already diabetic patients?
So in already diabetic patients, so whenever we see a diabetic patient, we divide them under categories, like whether the person is at borderline or at the verge of developing, or the person is a severe diabetic. So further, we use HbA1c as an indicator, which tells the last 3 months, 120 days. So RBCs, right? We have RBC, red blood cells. So they basically contain, their lifespan is 120 days. So accordingly, we measure last 3 months status of, so HbA1c less than 6 is always ideal. So if it is more than 7 to 8, we always tell them to reduce and keep it a check. And there is no such ideal level, because the severity depends on individual to individual, the diabetes severity or the high blood glucose sugar. So better than previous sugar level is always better, right? So there is nothing as such, this is the range should be maintained. But yeah, diabetes screening has to be done very often, and the medications has to be changed accordingly.
We have also seen a few cases of on the internet about white fungus, and this is turning into an epidemic. It's already declared as an epidemic in Rajasthan.
Yeah, so, yeah, as of now, yeah.
So what about, is it like coronavirus, or is it going to spread so much as such that people are going to affect even non-diabetics too?
that's not in our hands as of now. What we can do is getting shielded from it by avoiding it, by avoiding the contraction of that disease, by practicing our self hygiene measures. So if it is kept unchecked, and if the cases raise completely, then definitely now it is discovered as epidemic. Epidemic means pertaining to certain places. That if it is discovered as a pandemic, if it occurs as a whole worldwide phenomenon, then we call it as a pandemic. So it can also go till there if the cases are kept unchecked, or yeah, if the previously told measures are not followed, for sure.
What are the complications, sir, that are occurring majorly by this mucormycosis?
So
Any
basic,
complications rather than
yeah,
eye
just like
infections are seen commonly mainly.
most commonly the ENT, ear, nose, and throat. They are the most commonly affected areas, along with the sinuses. So whenever the mucormycosis case comes, then it will be definitely referred to an ENT practitioner. So it needs radical debridement along with amphotericin B medications, etc. And coming to the complications, there is nothing as such, but more of symptoms. It's more of symptoms like sinusitis, red eyes, respiratory depression. Mostly it affects the respiratory system. And yeah, that's it. And it can also change uh, the whole, like, see, for example, COVID is a prothrombotic state. It can actually alter the blood coagulation pathways in the same way.
Okay, sir. I guess this is all about mucormycosis, but this is just the present situation going on. Is there anything we can do as naturopaths, like budding naturopaths, we can help them, or like by changing diet or by changing their lifestyle, we can help in mucormycosis? Are there any evidences related to that?
So basically, holistic approach towards a disease is always encouraged if there are evidence basis behind that. So for example, in COVID, so in COVID patients, in order to improve their saturation, now we doctors are telling them to do pranayama, which is very, very vital. And it's one of the practices of all these naturopathy students and yoga sciences students. Okay. So exactly like, see, and for example, you're asking about any dietetic measures to be taken. For example, in sugar patients, diabetic patients. So you can always say that to reduce the glycemic index of foods they consume. So in the low glycemic index, so trying themselves to put their sugars balanced always, more of consumption of high natural fiber foods, so that their glucose levels in the blood doesn't alter so much, because the fiber keeps a check on it. And then healthy lifestyle, just like brisk walking, working out, and it has a huge impact on our immune system for sure, and getting adequate amount of sun rays. The thing is, most of us know what to do, but we fail to do. That's where we end up here. When we don't give our enough time for wellness, then we would be definitely forced to spend it on illness. Like just ask, yeah, just if you just ask any person who is going on road, for example, how to come over obesity, even he knows. He'll tell, go work out, go do yoga, go to gym, have healthy food, have at least 2 to 3 servings of leafy vegetables, 2 to 3 servings of fruits in your diet. Keep your diet as a whole food diet, not a processed one. Make sure that now dietitians like make sure that the food which is on your plate and the food which is in its natural habitat, if they look the same, that's the level of unprocessedness in that particular food. So everyone knows it. It's just that we fail to practice it. Would you agree or not?
Right. Totally agreed, sir. We all know about it, but we are not so very well preventing it. That's why they're ending up in the illness.
Because we have this in back of our mind, why will we even get that? but that's not the situation, right?
Very.
It's declared as pandemic right now.
Yeah, it's not so selective. It's just based on your habits and lifestyles. Very true, sir. And what about the present scenario? What's the present scenario in the hospitals about the cases related to mucormycosis or coronavirus? Is the situation getting any better presently, or
Uh, the cases of mucormycosis have actually increased past 10 years. So initially I was posted in, so our college has a private hospital where the students will be posted and tie up with a government hospital, which is Government Wenlock Hospital, which you mentioned earlier. And that is exclusively for all departments, Government Wenlock Hospital. It's like a government hospital in any district, basically. So I was posted in Attawar, which is a private medical hospital under KMC itself. So there I was posted, but there was not much caseload actually to say. But when I was posted in casualty of Attawar for 15 days, it's not even a COVID casualty. It's a non-COVID casualty where all these road traffic accidents, assault cases, poisoning, snake bite, or unknown insect bite cases, all these emergency cases we have to handle, we have to stabilize them. This is a function of a intern over there actually. So in during that time also, I've actually seen like 2 to 3 mucormycosis case throughout my 15 days of casualty, and which were referred to the flu clinic, So it's not getting any better. The only thing we have to focus right now is health. Otherwise, definitely we have to suffer unnecessarily.
there are also some myths going on in among the public that the vaccination of coronavirus is at times resulting as in complication to this mucormycosis situation. Many people have this myth in their mind.
No, there is no such case which is recorded as, see, for example, once the Corona Covishield or Covaxin or whatever vaccination is given. So, for example, take Covishield. After first shot, I'll tell you my scenario actually. When I was COVID positive, okay, uh, I was literally working out, but still I did not even gasp. Okay, so that's the I'm not trying to show off here. It's just that I'm saying the severity of it depends upon individual to individual, right? The immune response is completely dependent upon that particular person. It depends upon how well his immunity is developed or how well he focuses on his overall development of immunity. And then coming to vaccination and mucormycosis, there is no such relation. It's only if it happens to be after one Covishield shot, it will take 10 to 15 days in a normal human, regular human, to produce antibodies for it. Okay. So in some people, it might even take more than that time. So if the person X who took a vaccination shot yesterday and exposed to Corona day before yesterday, and this X person has already diabetes, has hypertension, has all possible or RVD positive, all the possible immune depletion diseases, then definitely there are high chances of that person contracting mucormycosis. So it's just what we call, we can't call it as association, or we can't call it as a causation. It's just that it happened like that. So it seems to be, just because it seems to happen like that, it doesn't mean that it's the causation or something, right? We can't definitely form a link between them.
And sir, what about the immune um, immunity increasing measures for these people who have multiple diseases, who are going for vaccination and are contracting these mucormycosis states or like initial stages of that? So what can they do? Is it treatable at home, or should they directly contact doctors?
See, again, here we use many modalities when a COVID patient comes to us. So first we do is RT-PCR to confirm his COVID status. If we want to, if he is an emergency, if we want to shift him to the COVID ward, then we would perform rapid antigen test. Rapid antigen test is a test which gives the result within 30 minutes. So if it is positive, most probably the person is definitely having a COVID. Okay. If it is negative, then the gold standard RT-PCR has to be done, and further it has to be evaluated. Okay. This is the modality for testing. Once the person is proven to be COVID positive and having very low saturation, and saturation less than 95 is considered to be harmful, right? Like 95 and above is good. That's normal. If it is less than 95, and in some COPD patients, chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, these patients, in them also, there is reduced saturation since before only. So if it's a COPD patient along with COVID contracting, then we have to follow up accordingly. Okay. And coming to the modality of CT scan. So here, there is this common notion when a person in a family is getting has developed COVID symptoms, and before telling them to get RT-PCR done, some or the other relatives just beside their home or in front of their home says that, "Are go get a HRCT done." Okay, HRCT. See, in HRCT there are two indices again. One is CORAD system. Okay, and second thing is severity score, CT severity score. So this CORAD system is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If it is 6, then it's more likely that the person is a COVID positive. So you can see certain changes in the lungs, ground glass opacities. So such changes can be seen. And coming to CT severity score, it is basically divided into, so now coming to the anatomy of lung, our right lung is divided into 3 lobes and left lung is divided into 2 lobes. So depending upon involvement of each lobe of lung, this CT severity score is designed. Okay. So consider lobe 1. So lobe 1 of the right lung, consider that. And then there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1 denotes that's less than 5% of involvement. 2 denotes that 5 to 25, and 25 to 50, 50 to 75, greater than 75. So this is how the CT severity score works. So this is for 1 lobe. So this is added in every lobe, and then finally CT score out of 25 is designed. Okay. If CT score is less than 8, then it is mild. 8 to 15 is moderate, and greater than 15 is severe. So this is a brief coming to the diagnostic modalities of COVID, and accordingly the management will take place. That's why one prescription doesn't work for all. For example, he's a mild patient, we don't give him steroids. We just monitor his saturation and vitals day by day, and then see how he's recovering. And then the common the conditions like fever can be controlled by paracetamol, and myalgia can be controlled by analgesics, and that's how it works. If the patient is very severe, then he might even need a oxygen support system from outside also. He might be intubated by a ventilator also. So this whole thing depends upon how patient's body is responding. And that can be only seen by a board certified practitioner. Obviously, every profession has its own this thing, right? We can't do any other profession, or we can't expect other people to do our profession, because we are studied and designed in such a way, and they are in that way. So yeah, I'm completely against this self-medication system. It's not at all good.
Very true, sir. And what about mucormycosis? Is the first encounter should be reported directly to the doctors first if they encounter mucormycosis then?
So mucormycosis, it should be diagnosed by doctor. You can't treat just because there is blackish discoloration. And there could be any other symptom, like if the patient is RBD positive, it could be effect of any other symptom. But you can't just directly say that just because there is some blackish discoloration, or just because the patient is suffering from sinusitis or any kind of nasal congestion, or all the respiratory symptoms which I have already mentioned, just because 1 or 2 of them is there, he cannot be considered as mucormycosis. It's a diagnostic, like it has to be diagnosed by a board certified doctor. So you can't really say that I have mucormycosis. If you have pain, just go to the doctor. Do not self-medicate. That's why, especially this is the period where you should never self-medicate, because you might ignore the signs. So you are having tenderness in your maxillary area, for which you take an analgesic and calm it down. So it calms down, the pain relieves, but the infection progresses inside. You don't know. And it goes to a certain extent where there should be radical removal of that particular half along with the jaw and the maxillary bone, right? So you don't want that to
Very
progress
true,
till
sir.
there. So it's always better to take a doctor's
Understood.
opinion.
So what would be your parting words for the session for all the general public and the doctors listening to us?
Okay, so I've already said that before summarizing the mucormycosis case itself. So first thing is to follow COVID appropriate behavior. Whatever it is, nothing is greater than your health. If you can live proper life, then only you can do anything. So please keep that in mind. And second thing is prioritize your health by providing your body with good fuel, good food, and try going out for a walk. If you can't like jog or something, you can always go for brisk walk. If you can't brisk walk, you can always walk normally. Okay. And if you're a bedridden patient who is having COVID-19 symptoms already, then we can't do much at that person. We can only give respiratory physiotherapy in order to assist his lungs till the recovery time. And after that, these measures need to be taken to avoid reinfection. Okay. So since there is no vaccine, since there is no definitive cure to be since there is no definitive cure for COVID right now, so we all should try our level best to avoid getting it. Okay. So please try to maintain hygiene measures, try to keep your immune system at optimal level. And there are some things I think, since you're a naturopathy student, you would know that getting adequate sunlight, eating right food, eating right, going for walk, doing breathing exercises along with yoga and some or the other resistance training for your muscles and bones. This keeps you healthy, right? So it's all over internet. We don't read this stuff. We read all these WhatsApp forwards. I don't want that to happen. So and one more thing for general public, if you come into if you come to see any kind of information on WhatsApp, Telegram, or any kind of social media platform, please try to get the background verified by the doctor or by that particular professional. So by this, we can actually question it, to what extent it is genuine, to what extent it is authentic. Is it credible to share? Or if you question it, half of the time you won't even try to share it. Once you stop that cycle, there is a hell lot of development outside. So that's what I want to say again and again, like press on. That's one statement I would like to press on. And I have a Instagram account where it's the muscle mechanics. So there will be posts on up-to-date science and what all measures to be taken. And I'll be making a lot many reels, videos about health and wellness. And it's a wholesome blog where you can find pretty much anything about everything. And if a person DMs me also, I reply to them properly. It might take late, but yeah, I definitely reply. I'll definitely give a reply and then leave. So that's the thing.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. It was pleasure to have you. The way you explained holistically the whole situation about mucormycosis and even CT and all other measures, RT-PCR and rapid antigen test measures for COVID situations too. That was very useful to all of us. And the main emphasis that you laid upon the WhatsApp forwards and prevention and wellness better than illness. That was very good message to keep up. Thank you on the behalf of our ORG team. It's our pleasure to have you with us and to get to share with you this screen and talk with you. It was my pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.